This is teaching number 2 on soul prosperity. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to do a teaching on the part of your soul, which is your emotions. This is going to be focused completely on your emotions. It's so important. People are like, man, emotions, you shouldn't be led by them. Emotions are there to serve us. Yes, I think we can be on a roller coaster of our emotions and it be out of control. But we need to understand that emotions are super important. Why? They create babies, they make war, they do all kinds of things. Emotions are so powerful. And if we'll learn how to use these emotions to serve us instead of actually causing us to be on a roller coaster ride, then we can actually begin to prosper in our soul. 3 John 2, he writes these things. Beloved, I wish above all things that you would prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. So soul prosperity is completely in line with prospering in health, prospering in wealth, prospering in relationships. So part of your soul is your emotions. So we need to understand how our emotions work and how they function. What I discovered in my deep dive and studying is there's this triad. It's a triangle. Basically, you have focus on one side, you have language on the other side, and you have physiology on the bottom. So the source of all emotions is the constellation of 3 things: physiology, focus, and language. Your physiology is how you use your physical body, such as breathing, posture, and movement. It's important. Your physiology is so important. Just try this right quick. Raise up your hands, tilt your head back, and smile. It's really hard in that posture. It's almost impossible to be mad, to be angry. And it's just a simple change of your physiology. I mean, it's amazing that they've done a study that people that men that stand like this, like a Superman stance, and hold it for like 60 seconds, it changes everything inside their entire being, their physical body, their chemicals in their body begin to respond, and it creates an emotion of a security and strength and confidence. It's not like you want to be, cocky. It's not about that. It's about changing your emotional state, realizing that your physiology has everything to do with your emotions. For example, what does someone that's depressed do? How does a depressed behavior, what does it look like? What does it sound like? Head down, low tone, shallow breathing, shoulders are slumped. That posture is an emotional response physiology, and it releases that into your whole body, and your brain begins to respond to life emotionally in that posture. So you can simply change your emotional state by physiology. This is so important. One of the things that I do is I yell. I don't recommend that. You don't have to do this, but this is what I do. I'll let out a yell, and it changes my physiology. Whoa! Immediately when I do that, I feel strength and energy flow into my body. I'm changing my physiology. I'm allowing my vocal cords and everything. Sit up, hold your head up. It's amazing. Just by changing your posture, you can change your emotional state. Some people say, I can't control my emotions. They just get out of control and I don't know how to do it. That's not true. So many of you have been on the phone, like just say if you have children or you're in a heated discussion with your spouse, and the phone rings, your cell phone rings, and it's an important call that you know that you need to answer. And you break out of that heated emotional state where you're arguing, fussing, whatever it is, and you go, hello, yeah, this is so and so. You immediately change your emotional state. You have the power, the physiology to change your emotional state. John wrote, Beloved, I wish above all things that you would prosper and be in health as your soul prospers. Your soul, part of your soul is your emotions. It's so important that you stop for a minute and realize I have control over my emotions. I'm the one in control of it, not external. It's an internal thing, and it comes also from external when I can change my physiology, when I can change my posture, can change my mood, can change my breathing. So let's just talk about breath for a minute. When God created man, he breathed into them the ruach of God, the life of God into man. Breath, somebody has said that part of God's name, Yahweh, is our breath. Now listen, you can change. That's when somebody is, having a panic attack. What do? They give them a paper bag and tell them to blow into it. And so it helps them to get oxygenated all through their entire body. And then all of a sudden their emotional state calms down, and then they begin to breathe. What do we tell people when they're going through something? Just breathe. It's amazing that we can just stop, maybe practice some breathing techniques, and I can teach you those, but those are so important that if you'll just breathe in situations, how that can change your emotional state. So, when we're going through hard things, sometimes we have an unconscious thing that happens when we're dealing with grief. We find ourselves going, that's an unconscious thing that your body's doing to actually get your entire emotional being to calm down. That's not a breathing technique. That just happens without you actually trying to make it happen. But you can be intentional about your breath. One of the famous people named Horace Gracie talked about when he was getting ready to go into a fight, he would change his breathing, like he would cause his heart rate and his breathing to go up to 190, almost 200 sometimes, and he'd bring it back down. And he would do this over and over and over before the fight. So when he got into the fight, he was his heart rate was like at a 43. And so as soon as the fight started, everybody's heart rate goes up. Well, his opponent's heart rate was already at like a 90 or 85 just being in there, and it already goes up to 120, 130. And then he's like hitting 70, 80 when they're at a 150. And by the time when he gets to like 130, they're at like a high heart rate, and they're just gassed out. And he just basically puts them into a submission hold, and they tap out. So your breath is so important that you learn that the very thing. Listen, you can live without water for 3 to 5 days. You can live without food for 40 days. But you live without breath for 3 to 5 minutes, and you'll go brain dead. So your breath is so important. God gave us the breath of life, the Ruach of God inside of us. So we need to learn to breathe. Allow those emotions, just take them in, allow them to go out, to flow out. That's through breath. Breathing is part of how you get your emotions in check. Breathing is also how you can get your emotions where you feel high. How do you do that? Listen, you don't need drugs or alcohol. You just do a breathing technique and you'll feel high as a kite. You'll feel intoxicated just from breathing, just from learning how to do certain breathing techniques. You'll be like, man, I feel so good. I feel amazing. Who did that? It wasn't a drug. It was you through breath that did that. That changed your emotional state. So the next part of it is posture. I talked about that a little bit. Your posture is everything. You need to learn to sit up, hold your head up, and sometimes just do this. If you feel yourself getting really angry, just stop. Be in control of yourself. That's part of the fruit of the Spirit is self-control. Be in control of yourself and hold your hands up and go. Do that for 30 seconds. And then just come back and put your hands on your shoulder and hold your shoulders back and lift your head up and watch your emotional state change. I don't want to do that. I don't feel like doing that. See, that's when you're allowing your emotions to control you instead of you controlling your emotions. Somehow those negative emotions are serving you and you like them better than being at peace and at rest. You would rather have that. It's serving you. It's releasing cortisol. It's releasing something that you need, and you need to train yourself to recognize it. Be aware. Oh, hold on a minute. I don't have to allow this emotion to take me down this path. I don't have to allow rage or anger or bitterness or whatever those negative emotions. They're actually communicating to you, hey, it's time for change. It's time to serve. Now, you can let anger serve you in an emotional way to get things done, but that's not something you need to make a habit of. It can be used as a tool to serve you, but not as a continual habit. You don't need to allow anger to be the thing that motivates you. You need to realize you can motivate your own emotions through posture and through breathing and changing your physiology. It's amazing that some people are like, when they get this, in a situation where it's really intense, argument, whatever it is. They're like, you know what? I just need to go on a walk. What are they doing? They don't, whether they recognize or not, they're actually changing their state. They're actually getting their heart rate up. They're breathing, they're walking, and they're allowing their body to move. Allowing that body to move, and it just creates a whole different emotional state inside of you versus allowing that negativity to stay there and get so intense where you do things that you regret later. So you can just stop. Now, the next one is focus. Focus is amazing. They couldn't figure out how to create a nuclear bomb or to split the atom. Basically, or atomic bomb. Or nuclear bomb, atomic bomb. So what they decided is they would take a laser and they would focus that laser right on that atom. And at first, there was so much energy. That atom was going crazy. And then the atom would just go dormant. And they're like, nothing's happening. And so they just kept stopping. So one day they decided, we're going to literally just allow, once it goes dormant, we're not going to stop. And man, it caused the atom to split. So this is the power of focus. You get in there, and when you're first into something that you want to do, you get all excited, your energy's there, and then you hit the wall. You hit that dormant, that stale, that like, my brain, I'm just not into this. That's the power of focus, that if you just continue to focus on that, even though you feel like it's went dormant or stale or numb or whatever language you want to put to it, and you just continue to focus, all of a sudden there'll be massive breakthrough. The power of focus. Wherever your focus goes, your energy flows. So if you want your energy to be flowing in the direction of something you focus on, you put your focus on that. And when you start, usually there's like a lot of emotional energy, and then it just kind of goes dormant. Don't stop, because this is just the part of the process of learning the power of focus. And when you focus on something, you'll get it accomplished. I promise you. When I set my mind to focus on one thing, I'll get it done. I'll allow all the other distractions fall off. And I'm telling you, they're immediately trying to pull on my emotions, whatever it is. But focus is so powerful. So remember, say this out loud. Where my focus goes, my energy flows. Whatever you focus on, you'll feel more strongly. That's an emotional state. So whatever you focus on, you'll feel real strong about that state. This is so important to understanding your emotions. So the last one in this triad is called language and meaning. And as soon as you put words to an experience, it changes the meaning of the experience. Wow. A lot of us have had many experiences in life, and somehow we've created a language around those experiences. And as a result, that language or emotion is connected to that experience. That experience might have happened 20 years ago, but we at that moment created language that gave that experience meaning. And if you want to change that, say there's something, we call them triggers. Everybody knows about triggers. So if you want to change the trigger, you have to change the meaning or the language of that experience and that emotion. So then it doesn't bring you this nasty feeling, this gut feeling, this How many of you, I've been through this, where there's something that happened many years ago, and then I get around, maybe a song triggers it, and I'm just thinking about that situation, and I'm thinking about it, and then the language that I created around that situation gives it a meaning that I don't like. What I've learned to do is to reframe that language, put a different language on that emotion, and then it changes how you feel about it. What is feelings? It's your emotions. And once you feel different about it, you continue to condition that feeling, that language, until it becomes new. That experience no longer has power over you anymore. And so when you're triggered, you're not triggered in a negative way anymore. You're triggered in a positive way when you think about those things. Language is also important because it's the chatter, or it's the story that we say about our lives. And so if we want to change our emotions, if we want to change the outcomes of what we're looking for in life, we need to change the language or the story that we've told ourselves about certain situations. For example, say you want to get in shape, you want to lose some weight. Well, the story might look like this. I'm going to do it this year, and you get all excited and you have that hype about it. You go to the gym, you join the gym, you got the new membership, you went and bought the tennis shoes, or you bought the workout shoes. You might even get a temporary trainer that the gym offers you for free, and you go, and for 2 weeks you do it, and then something comes up and life happens, and it kicks you out of your pattern of going to the gym. Now it's 3 days, 5 days, you haven't been. And then here comes the language. The language is yeah, you just need to relax. You don't need to be so hard on yourself. You're okay. And, just give yourself a little grace. Some of that's true. But if you made a decision, if you made a true decision that you want to get in shape or lose weight or be healthy, then you can't allow that language to dominate going forward. But that's been the pattern for years, because for years, if you go back and look, you joined the gym many times and quit going and continue to pay membership. I mean, that's like you give me money, and then there's supposed to be a service I'm providing for you, and then you just continue to give me the money, but I don't provide the service anymore. You're gonna be like, I'm not doing that. I'm not signing up for that. Well, that's exactly what you do with gyms. That's exactly what you do with your own language that you've told yourself. You've created this story inside of your mind. You've got to change the story. What you need to do is go to the end and get a picture of what you want to be. Get an image, imagination of how you want to look and how you want to feel. And then come back and then begin to take steps towards that. Basically, one strategy is to look at a mountain and look at how you're going to climb up this mountain. It's going to be arduous. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. And so you're like, wow, how am I going to get up there? Instead of trying to figure out how you're going to get up there, immediately in your mind, imagine you're already at the top of the mountain. See yourself there at the peak. Now look back down the mountain at the person who's trying to get up the mountain. What you're going to see is there's going to be an easier path. There's going to be better ways to do it. There's going to be strategies. There's going to be things that you didn't think about. This is what I did coming up here, but now that I'm looking back down, I can take this path, or I can do this, or I can actually be better prepared this way. And so instead of trying to figure out how to get up to the top of the mountain, imagine you're already there, and then see that person trying to get up, and then tell that person the best way to get up. That changes the story now. That gives you new energy and new life to your story. So language is really powerful to your emotions. So again, to just go over these three things: physiology, focus, and language. These are the three strategies on how to change your emotional state and your emotional being. And if you'll just put these into practice, this is just a brief teaching on this, but I'm telling you, just doing these three things that I've talked about here, the breathing, the focus, and the language, they'll change your life. They'll give you different outcomes. They'll help you, because he said, beloved, I wish above all things. All in the Greek is all, everything. I wish. He says, I'm saying, I want you to prosper. I want you to prosper. But it's completely dealing with your soul. And one part of your soul is your emotions. So I hope this encourages you to change your emotional state, to live in a better place, and to know that emotions are so important. Emotions can serve you either positively or negatively. There really truly aren't any positive or negative emotions. They're just emotions. They're what meaning we give to them. That's how we deal with them. So if you have some negative emotions in your life, maybe stop and ask that emotion, what is it trying to communicate to you? What is it trying to say? Does that emotion bring you pain? Because pain indicates there needs to be some change. Pain's saying, listen, it's time to change. If it's locking you into a state and it seems hopeless and like seems no way out, then that's a language problem, and you need to recreate a different language around that emotion and ask the emotion and yourself, what is it trying to say to me so I can get out of this feeling of hopelessness? When you're in a state of hopelessness, that's actually called suffering. That means there's no way out. You're just constantly suffering. Pain indicates things it's time to change and time to grow. But suffering means I can't get out of this. There's just no way through it. So we got to change the language. Suffering, Acts 14:22 says suffering is the doorway in to the kingdom. So if we can change the language and realize if we're suffering in a situation, it's actually the open door to give us understanding on how to bring breakthrough. And so, because in the kingdom is righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Spirit. So in the kingdom, everything's been provided for you through that suffering. So it's time to grow and to mature in our emotions so we can prosper and be in health even as our soul prospers. Thank you for listening. God bless.